Hi everyone, this is a presentation of The Lone Ranger and Tonto Fistfight in Heaven by Sherman Alexie. My name is Michael Strange. My group members are Monica Aguirre, Luciano Alcala, Victor Mojadin, and Gabriel Salcedo. The book was first published in 1993 and has gone through several editions, including a 10th and 20th anniversary edition. Mr. Alexie said that the title of the book comes from a dream in which he saw the Lone Ranger and Tonto fistfighting over in the distance, where the winner would go on to heaven and the loser would descend into hell. He went on to say that the image of the Lone Ranger and Tonto fistfighting was analogous to the fight between the Indian cultures and the white culture. As a note, I'll be using the term Indian rather than Native American because that's what Mr. Alexie uses. The book consists of 25 short stories that are linked together through characters, setting, and theme, with some linking through plot. All of the stories are based in and around the Spokane Indian Reservation in Washington State, except for one of the stories, which is called This Is What It Means to Say Phoenix, Arizona. Although the work is fiction, Mr. Alexie does say in the introduction that there's quite a bit of truth to many of the stories taken from his own life. He recalls some of the true events, but then embellishes or changes certain people or occurrences in order to tell a more vivid story. He refers to the work as an autobiography of the soul. Finally, this book served as a basis for the film Smoke Signals, which Mr. Alexie also wrote. This film went on and won the Audience Award, the Filmmakers Trophy, and was nominated for the Grand Jury Prize at the Sundance Film Festival. A little bit about Mr. Alexie. He was born in 1966. He's half Spokane and half Coeur d'Alene Indian. He grew up on the Spokane Indian Reservation, which is also the setting of this book. He was reading by the age of 3 and had completed The Grapes of Wrath by the age of 5. His advanced reading and bookishness led to ostracism at the reservation school, which he attended. His experience in grade school might be similar to those described as fictive kinship by Fordham, although we'd have to take a closer look at his biography and interviews in order to make such a claim. For high school, he transferred to a high school off the reservation in nearby Reardon, Washington, in order to have more academic opportunities. The school was his first immersion into the white community, and he was the only Indian student at the school, which ironically had a mascot of the Redskins. In school, he played basketball, which is a recurring topic of the book. His basketball days provided both high and low points and are a central piece of many of the stories in the book. After high school, he attended Gonzaga University, which serves predominantly wealthy white students now, but originally its purpose was to educate the Indians of the region. He ended up receiving his degree from Washington State and began publishing poetry. After a favorable review in the New York Times Book Review, his career skyrocketed, as retold in the prologue. There are several themes that run throughout the book and tie many of the stories together. Poverty is prevalent in most of the book, with constant references to lack of employment and money, government-supplied meat and cheese, lacking healthcare options, HUD housing, and even just spending time sitting around watching cockroaches. The interesting thing is that there's never a sense of desiring more, as is so common in the American psyche. Now, one of the stories has a character that complains about the lack of this or that. Rather, there is simply a sense that hunger is a matter of fact and lack of resources is just the way things are. The same acceptance of things as they are applies to the rampant alcoholism described throughout the book. This fatalistic view of drinking is evident in the story The Only Traffic Signal on the Reservation Doesn't Flash Red Anymore, when Adrian and Victor are sitting on the front steps and they watch a group of young boys walk by. One of the boys, named Julius Windmaker, is a promising basketball player, and Adrian and Victor make the following observation. Adrian says, "He looks good." Victor says, "Yeah, he must not be drinking." Adrian says, "Yet. Yeah, yet." Their premonition is validated the next year when Julius had started drinking, lost his game, and became a story of what could have been. In spite of the poverty and alcoholism, there's a spirit of resilience in the stories. Many of the tales have a melancholic view of the world. However, there's often a silver lining and a spirit to carry on. In the story, The Approximate Size of My Favorite Tumor, James Mini Horses receives news that he has terminal cancer and comments on how his favorite tumor is the size of a baseball and even has the stitches like one. Despite his impending death, James carries on with humor and a light heart. Tradition also plays a prominent role in the book. Whether it is the fancy dancing at the powwows, Thomas Build the Fire's role as a seer and unwanted mystic, or Norma Mini Horse's role as a cultural lifeguard, references to both past and present tradition line each story and help portray the struggle between holding on to heritage and moving forward. The most important theme, at least in terms of this course, is the separation between people. The stories illustrate not only the separation between the Indian and white worlds, but also the separation between men and women, the reservation Indians, and those that live in the city, the urbans. Racism, stereotyping, and conflict are nearly always present whenever any of the characters interact with the surrounding white community. There's the state patrol officer that pulls over James and Norma Mini Horses on a trumped-up violation to collect a $100 bribe, or the Spokane police officer who stops Victor because he doesn't fit the profile of the neighborhood. These conflicts are never met with hostility or anger on the part of the Indian, but rather amusement and show of spirit. This doesn't mean there is acceptance, though, as evident in distances, in which a ghost dance leads to the destruction of the whites and cities and a return of the animals and fields. However, urbans, those Indians living in the cities, are also affected as they develop a sickness, I assume from being tainted by the outside world, and end up dying off. These themes help tie the stories together, but each of these stories paints a partial picture of what current reservation life is like. This vision into the reservation is one that I have not experienced and helped open my eyes a little to the struggles of a long oppressed people. The individual stories also help to portray the commonalities of all people, regardless of race or class. So let's have a closer look at a few or all of these stories.